Hello everyone, I'm Ankit and you're watching StudyIQ IAS English. In our today's video, we'll try to understand why is Article 25 of the Indian Constitution in news currently. Now things will get a bit more clear if we understand the context of our today's discussion. Now the Union Home Ministry has recently tightened or strictened the foreign funding framework, which is for NGOs and associations who receive funds as per the Foreign Contribution Regulation Act of the Union government. So what the government has done, it has introduced two notifications. First notification actually revises penalties by making them more stringent, and second, it specifies that for any foreign contribution that you receive, you need to ensure that it is purpose based and linked to a particular geography. So the registration certificates that the NGOs get for foreign funding will be determined by these two specific intentions. Now, why is government trying to introduce such stricter norms for foreign fundings of NGOs? The reason is very simple. That is, the government is explicitly trying to keep foreign money out for proselytizing activities. What are proselytizing activities? We'll understand this, and why or how it violates Article 25. That is the subject matter of our today's discussion. So let us start by understanding what are proselytizing activities. Now the notes which I will be using for our today's session, you can also download them by going to a particular Telegram channel called as ATS Live, and while you're at it, please do not forget to subscribe to the channel also. Okay, so let us start by understanding what are proselytization or what are proselytizing activities. Now the word proselytization is basically means that an act of attempting to convert someone from their religion to your own. Now traditionally this word was meaning, or it meant that your intention was to recruit new followers of the faith, which we understand many religions have been accused of. But of late, this activity of proselytization, it also indicates a more aggressive, a more persistent effort to convert people to your religion, and in this way it violates some of the very important provisions of the Constitution. Now let us first understand why proselytization was being referred to specifically here by the government. Now one of the most notable features of the new regulation system is that it repeatedly uses the word excluding proselytization, especially with respect to religious activities. Whenever a foreign NGO is trying to take funding, they are prohibited to use that funding for proselytization, which means forced conversion. Now this regulation which was introduced this week becomes important because of the previous 2011 rules. Now the previous 2011 rules, it recognized a range of religious activities because they did not explicitly refer to proselytization. So this explicitly excluding the forced religious conversion was not taken care of by the previous rules, and that is why the government had to introduce a new rule in order to prohibit that. Now the framework which we will talk about of late, it allows faith-based activities to be continued by NGOs. So NGOs can continue religious education, theological studies, preservation of religious traditions, and even organize religious gatherings from the foreign funding. But the same foreign funding by the NGOs can't be used for conversion oriented work. Now why shouldn't NGOs from foreign funding indulge in conversion work? Let us understand this. For that we need to refer to Constitution, specifically Article 25 of the Constitution. Now the Article 25 of the Constitution, it guarantees right to profess, practice and propagate the religion. But the Supreme Court in Reverend Stainless versus State of Madhya Pradesh case of 1977, the Supreme Court has specifically stated that this right to propagate religion does not mean that you have a right to convert another person. So this is the limitation of the right to freedom of religion, and if you forcefully convert someone from taking foreign fundings, it would violate this very provision of the Indian Constitution. So therefore, by excluding proselytization activities, the central government is trying to signal that the foreign contributions can support religious and faith-based activities, but they can't be used for conversion oriented work. So in this regard, let us try to understand what are the broad provisions of the new FCRA amendment rules of the Indian government are. Now, the first notification, I told you, right, there are two notifications. First, let us cover the first notification. The first notification, it amends the foreign contribution regulation rules of 2011, and it now requires that every FCRA registration NGOs need to specify for what purpose they are seeking foreign funds, and more importantly, where they are going to utilize this foreign funds for what kind of activity. So both for which kind of activities they want foreign funds and from where they would use this foreign funds, both of them needs to be specified, and that is why the NGOs registration is now linked to two purposes, for the purpose as well as the location. Now what you have to understand from that activities, in order to select the purpose, earlier it was a broad-based framework, but now government has determined a 105 permissible purposes from which only the NGOs can select. They can only seek foreign funding for these 105 or one of these 105 purposes. Now, what is the point of making such regulations? The point of making such regulation was that existing FCRA registered associations, they would now have a year's time in order to indicate the purpose and the geographical areas for where they want to continue these activities, and then only they will be able to retain their existing registration. And if they tomorrow make certain changes in the purpose as well as location, they have to seek a new registration themselves. Now, other changes made by this notification includes increasing the definition of key functionaries and at the same time restricting organizations with foreign nationals in key management positions from ordinarily receiving the registration or prior permission. In addition to that, it also introduces a minimum utilization requirement for renewal or cancellation decisions. So suppose if NGO is seeking 1 crore rupees for any kind of activity which they have to determine in the license, and in case that if they are not able to use these foreign funds, then in future their registrations is liable to get cancelled. Similarly, the conditions for release of subsequent installments have also been tightened, and the NGOs will be required to prove that they have used the money judiciously before seeking additional installments of foreign funding. And it mandates for NGOs more extensive disclosure in their annual returns by highlighting what are their activity reports, important details of social media handles, as well as information for ultimate donors. So what the government is trying to do? The government is trying to make NGOs file their reports annually, which will list out important NGO related details, what are their social media handles, who are the ultimate donors, and where you are utilizing the money. And more importantly, are you judicially utilizing the money or not, or is it just stagnant in your bank accounts? Similarly, the second notification that I was talking about, it basically revises compounding penalties. So the FCRA rules mandate that any NGO seeking foreign funds, the maximum amount of foreign funds that it can use for administrative expenses like rent, salaries, etc. is capped at 20%. So if that breach or that cap is violated, NGOs end up paying penalties. So this penalty amount has been increased. Similarly, for utilization of foreign contribution in speculative activities such as stock market investments, these are prohibited, and if any NGO is found indulging in the same, they have to pay again monetary penalties. Using foreign contribution for the purpose other than which they were sought, again is a violation, again penalty, and accepting or utilizing foreign contribution for purposes in states and union territories where you are not registered, this again is a violation. So for all these kind of breaches of the FCRA rules, penalties have been increased to as much as 5 lakh rupees per NGO. Similarly, what or why these amendments were needed? As I told you, the earlier 2011 framework was more of a broad program based framework, and the recent 2026 framework is more of a prescriptive regulatory framework. So what happened under the 2011 rules, the NGOs and organizations, they broadly identified the categories based on which they will work upon, but now they have to specify out of that scheduled 105 permissible activities which activities they are indulgent, and the registration is linked to the same. Not just that, earlier they were disclosing their areas of operation, but their registration was not linked to a certain state and union territory, and now from 2026 rules onwards, their registration also links to a definitive territory, and if they have to expand their operations, they have to seek a new license from the Home Ministry. Now, from this basis, By understanding that it makes proselytization an excluded activity, it makes key functionary more responsible and more accountable, and it puts new restrictions on those organizations which are headed by foreign nationals from seeking foreign funds. Here the government is trying to do one very important thing. Government is trying to increase its oversight on how, where and for what purposes the foreign contributions are used. Now you must be thinking, why is government making things bit more stricter for NGOs? The reason is very simple. Because it was found by the government that NGOs have been repeatedly misused their foreign funds, and they have used these foreign funds in many cases which involves forceful religious conversion. And I told you, forcefully converting religion of any person is violation of their Article 25. And you'd be surprised to know in December 2021, the Union Home Ministry cancelled the license of an NGO called as Missionaries of Charity. Yes, this was that very NGO which was founded by Mother Teresa. So if that NGO was found for violation of FCRA, what do you think smaller NGOs would be responsible for? So this is what the government is trying to prevent by making things a bit more stricter. The regulations for disclosures of their purposes, their accounts, their social media handles are intended to increase the transparency with which these NGOs needs to operate, because they are seeking foreign funds for the same. And if that foreign funds are being misused, the government will be now in a better position to understand and fill that particular information gap. Right? So this was our today's discussion. I hope I have made things bit more clearer, because the earlier framework were not adequately enabling the government to track and monitor where the foreign funds were being used. And now with the activity reports that the NGOs are need to file, the disclosure of social media accounts, and more importantly from whom they are receiving the foreign funds, that information gap that persisted will now be filled, and hopefully the use of foreign funds will not be there for forceful religious activities. Right? So this was our today's discussion. Now you need to understand the topic that we have just covered right now. It's a topic relating to Indian polity. Indian polity, including fundamental rights like Article 25, freedom of practice, profess and preach your religion, is an integral part of Indian polity. And similarly, subjects like economy, geography, history are very important for UPSC exam. If you want to take admissions to our StudyIQ courses, which offers classes for all these batches or all these subjects, you can go to our website, and by taking admissions, please remember, use this code ATS Live, because this code helps you fetch maximum discounts. Now, before ending our today's discussion, there is a question that I want you to solve, very similar to the question that appeared in 2019. Which of the article of the Constitution guarantees the right to profess, practice and propagate your religion? Do let me know the correct answer in the comment section. Very easy. If you have followed our today's discussion and the notes, if you want to download them, you can go to this particular Telegram channel called as ATS Live. So this is my today's discussion. I hope you have gotten a better idea of how Article 25 works. For similar such videos, do not forget to subscribe to our channel, that is the YouTube channel, and this is where you'd get notes, so do not forget to subscribe that as well. So this is all from my side. Please have a very good night.